Safety during launches from here on the East Coast has been coordinating with SpaceX and the NASA teams, ensuring that the launch area and the flight path are clear for the launch of the Falcon 9 rocket. Everything's looking good in that regard as well. The range starts at the launch pads at Cape Canaveral Air Force Station and Kennedy Space Center and extends eastward out over the Atlantic Ocean into the Indian Ocean. The range coordinator has verified that the range is go for launch. At T-minus 5 minutes, the range will complete communications checks, and then at T-minus 2 minutes, the range control officer will verify that the eastern range is officially go for launch.
And the Falcon 9 flying today is a two-stage rocket. The first stage has 9 engines named Merlin. The second stage has a single Merlin engine which can operate in the vacuum of space. The engines are fueled by RP-1, which is a rocket-grade kerosene, and liquid oxygen. RP-1 fueling of both the Falcon 9 stages began on time at T-minus 1 hour and 10 minutes. Liquid oxygen began flowing into both rocket stages as planned at T-minus 35 minutes, and teams will begin setting up for final fuel at T-minus 7 minutes. We are now at T-minus 5 minutes and counting, and about T-minus 10, the launch director verified about T-minus 10 minutes with the mission manager that the Dragon spacecraft was moved to internal power.
That's right, and the Falcon 9 first stage engines were chilled down prior to launch. That occurred at T-minus 7 minutes. This allows the engines to be cold enough to safely move the propellants or fuel through them. Shortly after that, the Falcon 9 began to move to internal power, and the system responsible for igniting the engines, TTEB, just before liftoff, was pressurized at T-minus 6 minutes.
The strongback, which is the structure next to the Falcon 9, will begin to retract to its launch position at T-minus 4 minutes and 50 seconds. The thrust vector control actuators will be moved or gimbaled, and this is the system which allows for the control of the vehicle while in flight that will occur at T-minus 2 minutes and 55 seconds.
We currently are at T-minus 4 minutes and counting. At T-minus 1 minute, the SpaceX Falcon 9 computer will begin its final pre-launch checks. And then at T-minus 45 seconds, SpaceX launch director Mike Taylor will verify go for launch.
And at liftoff, the Falcon 9 will produce 1.7 million pounds of thrust, which is greater than 5 747s at full power.
After liftoff, the Falcon 9 will begin a maneuver called a pitch kick at 10 seconds into flight. This move gets the rocket flying on its correct path. You can see that the strongback has retracted to its pre-launch position of 88.3 degrees. At 1 minute 5 seconds after liftoff, the Falcon 9 will reach transonic speed and will pass through the area of maximum aerodynamic pressure, or max Q, at at 1 minute 18 seconds after liftoff.
And at the time of launch today, the International Space Station will be over the South Pacific, southeast of New Zealand at an altitude of 258 statute miles.
T-minus 3 minutes and counting, and from now until liftoff, we'll be monitoring the countdown net, the primary circuit used by the SpaceX launch team during the terminal count.
Stage 1 launch is closed out for flight.
Weather remains go. The strongback has reached its launch position of 88.3 degrees. Liquid oxygen venting from both first and second stages of the Falcon 9 rocket as it sits on the launch pad at Space Complex 40 on Cape Canaveral Air Force Station. T-minus 2 minutes 10 seconds and counting.
Stage 2 launch is closed out for flight.
Stage 2 liquid oxygen closed out for flight, signifying a good liquid oxygen load. Next major milestone, at T-minus 1 minute 5 seconds, the autonomous flight termination system will be checked and termed ready for launch.
Mechanical loads have started.
1 minute 25 seconds. T-minus 1 minute, 10 seconds and counting.
Vehicles in startup.
Falcon 9 is in startup mode. Flight computer is making its final pre-launch checks. Propellant tanks are
Go for launch.
flight pressure, and as you hear, Launch Director Mike Taylor gives a go for launch of today's SpaceX CRS-15 mission. T-minus 30 seconds.
Gas closeouts complete.
The pad deluge water system will be activated at T-minus 18 seconds.
Stage 1 tanks present for flight.
T-minus 15 seconds.
Everything is go.
10, 9,
T-minus 8 seconds. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have ignition and liftoff. The Falcon 9 rocket powers the Dragon spacecraft toward the International Space Station, laden with new research for the multinational crew.
Visual prop is nominal. Vehicle is pitching downrange.
At 1 minute, 5 seconds after liftoff, Falcon 9 reaches transonic speed. Vehicle will pass through the area of maximum aerodynamic pressure, or max Q, at 1 minute, 18 seconds after liftoff. This is the point
power and telemetry nominal.
when mechanical stress on the rocket reaches its peak because of the rocket's velocity and resistance created by the Earth's atmosphere.
One minute into flight. Confirmation that the Falcon 9 is supersonic. As you can see the contrail as the rocket passes through maximum dynamic pressure.
Vehicle has reached maximum dynamic pressure.
Just over 1 minute left in the flight of the first stage of the Falcon 9. At around 2 minutes 35 seconds into the flight, all 9 engines will sequentially shut down and you'll hear the call MECO, which is main engine cutoff.
MVAC engine 2.
The MVAC is the second stage Merlin vacuum engine. It's being chilled for its operation, which will get underway in a little bit more than 30 seconds. Standing by for main engine cutoff.
MECO.
Stage separation confirmed.
MECO and stage separation confirmed. The first stage of the Falcon 9 rocket, having done its job, falls away from the second stage.
MVAC ignition.
MVAC ignition. The Merlin vacuum engine has ignited.
Stage 1 AFTS is saved.
The MVAC engine and the second stage will burn for about 6.5 minutes, bringing Dragon into low Earth orbit. The engine produces 210,000 pounds of thrust.
Vehicle is on a nominal trajectory.
Bermuda acquisition of signal.
Coming up on 4 minutes into the flight of Falcon and Dragon. First stage falling away in the upper left portion of your picture. Second stage continues to burn with Dragon on its way to the International Space Station. 4 minutes, 15 seconds remaining in this burn of the MVAC engine.
Position at New Hampshire.
Coming up on 5 minutes after launch, everything continues to go well. The first stage in the lower left portion of your picture, not returning to the launch site today. Safely being disposed of. Meanwhile, stage 2 continues to burn. 3 minutes, 5 seconds remaining before SECO, second stage engine cutoff. Six minutes after launch, propulsion officer says everything continues to look healthy on the Merlin vacuum engine. 2 minutes, 20 seconds remaining in this burn. Two minutes remaining before SECO. Second stage engine doing its job, taking the Dragon spacecraft to its assigned
Vehicle
position in
remains on
space.
a nominal trajectory.
Seven minutes, 2 seconds after launch, just under a minute and a half remaining in the burn. Falcon second stage remaining on the proper trajectory. Everything looks good. 1 minute remaining in the burn of the Falcon 9 second stage. Eight minutes after launch, everything continues to go well.
Stage 2 is in terminal guidance.
Stage 2 is in terminal guidance.
Stage 2 AFDS has safed.
Autonomous flight termination system is safe. About 15 seconds away from second stage engine cutoff. Engine shut down.
Nominal orbit insertion.
And as you hear, normal orbit insertion.
Acquisition of signal Newfoundland.
Next major milestone will be the deploy of the Dragon spacecraft.